was another fellow that joined us in our cabin. The girls' cabins were actually not as nice, and we didn't tell them that until the very end of our time there. They finally came over to visit, but they would ask us some questions, and cryptically we kind of hide. Well, yeah, we did tell them we had our own bathroom. They had community bathrooms. There were only 3 guys and 18 girls, and so, but still, their places were nice. It was neat. The grounds of the Tropical Education Center just had beautiful, flora and fauna all over the place. This antelope lizard with the bright red face and the blue body. But then we headed to the Belize Zoo. At the Belize Zoo, it's not like the regular zoos that you would find in the United States. It's not like the Minneapolis Zoo if you were to travel there. Their whole purpose is to hold indigenous populations of animals, or the native species of animals, and really educate the public on what their natural heritage is. And I'll tell you later on, the founder, Sharon Matola, we got a chance to meet her and how this started. They had signs like this all over, and it was written for mostly students to kind of understand, and I won't read all of them, but some of them are written in some kind of funny language here. Tropical America is just 5% of planet Earth, but over 50% of all the plants and animals found in are found in the American tropics. Here's a toucan. Some vultures, very colorful. Does anybody know the name of this animal? What kind of animal is this? Puma? Mountain lion? Cougar? This is, as a biology teacher, this is one thing that we talk about sometimes, is that there are multiple common names, and so a little lesson in scientific names, but they also call it a red tiger. You say puma, I say cougar. You say mountain lion, I say red tiger. Puma, cougar, mountain lion, red tiger. Let's call the whole thing Feliz con color. Well, there's a handsome gentleman. Anybody know what this is? It is a tapir. Yes, it's the national mammal of Belize. And he said, get this side. This is my better side over here. This guy is a harpy eagle. He has a 6-foot wingspan, this big, flying around, and they're an endangered species. They don't mate very quickly. There are a lot of signs about them, but this is just a gorgeous bird. Now here is a beautiful specimen as well. This is a jaguar, and his name is Junior Buddy. And you can actually find books. I don't know, I should have looked to see if there are any books about Junior Buddy in the library here, but they have books about Junior Buddy to kind of give awareness to the natural heritage as well. And you kind of sound like Close Encounter. I'll tell you a little bit more about Junior Buddy, and I got very close. Here's a big crocodile. This is about 10 feet long. Not all of the animals were in cages, though. Beautiful butterflies. You turn over a leaf, and there was another butterfly. And the flowers were just gorgeous and vibrant. The plant life was really neat itself. We live in a beautiful world. On day 2, we spent more time at the Belize Zoo. In inquiry, this word that is a part of the options program that I'm in, students do a lot of inquiries, and so there's a lot of connection there. And it's one of the foundational pieces to the master plan that we have at Miami University with the Global Field Program. So we carried out our own inquiries, and we had different discussion groups that met. We're back at the Belize Zoo, so there's another sign with some beautiful red iguanas. This guy was not caged. This is just an iguana out and about on his own. Beautiful flowers. Acacia thorns. Watch out for those. Some bird of paradise plants. I think we'll get here to... Oh, and we had local experts here. We gathered to listen to Jamal, and Druin was a fairly young activist in the area. And Jamal worked at the Belize Zoo, and I feel like I have a brush with fame. He made these posters here. This is his signature right here, so he kind of laughed a little bit when I had said, hey, will you sign this for me? But he did, and he was a neat guy to talk with. He let me hold a snake. Boa constrictor. In fact, as long as his kids are healthy enough, Jamie Pastor from the Red Zoo plans to come running in here a little bit with a few animals, including a boa constrictor, to kind of show us some of the animals that were down in Belize. This was my group that worked on an inquiry. We looked at the local ceiba tree, and if you get a close-up look, it's got these thorns all along the side. And it prompted us to start asking them some questions. And with this inquiry, we asked these comparison questions. And so it took us a little while, but we developed a question where we asked ourselves, and I won't read this whole thing to you, but these were whiteboards that we presented our information on. The question was, on which side of the ceiba tree do most of the thorns grow? And we had to develop a method to kind of count them out. We found different ceiba trees. We took a lot of different data. And at the end, our conclusion was that most of the thorns grew on the west side of the trees with thorns. A good comparison question then is one that would lead you to more questions. And so we were thinking, well, why on the west side? And what about this? And they were kind of saying, see, this is the prompting that we're looking for with inquiry. Ask a question that leads to more questions. We presented our information. Other people presented their information. These guys, I pointed this one out because this was kind of a neat one. They found this really interesting looking fungus that had flies all over it, and they were trying to recreate the fungus. So they took Dixie cups, put them upside down, cut little holes in them, colored them, and then also used some flavored chapstick to see if they could get the flies to come like they did to the fungus. They had no luck whatsoever. So it was something about the scent. They were asking questions about the scent. Back to the Tropical Education Center. This, I think, is a discussion group. We had preparations that needed to be made, and papers were written prior to coming into country. And my discussion group involved participatory education and inquiry. Later on, we had discussion groups that were about coral reef ecosystems and manatees and community actions. We headed to the Community Badwood Sanctuary. Oh, this is our bus driver, Miner. He actually probably saved our lives later on, and I'll tell you that story in just a moment, too. Along the way, we stopped at the local supermarket. Across the street was a police station, and yellow and green is the police station colors for all the police stations in Belize. Peter jumped on the bus with us, and you can see he didn't wear bug spray. Living in Belize, we wore bug spray all the time, and we were covered in sweat and sunscreen and bug spray. And it sounds potentially horrible, but you just got used to it. We found brief respites here and there, but he walked around with this palm that he would kind of whip around and whip the bugs off him as he was talking. So as he's talking, he's constantly doing this, whipping off the bugs. And really, the bugs were not as bad as I thought they would be. There were some spots that were horrific, but other places not too bad. He was a great ornithologist, and he knew a lot about the local culture. And when we went to Altunha, a Mayan ruin site, he was kind of our guide as we walked around there. He talked to us about how these Mayan ruins are approximately 1,500 years old, and he was showing us a road that was developed along the way. The story is, and I'll try to tell you quickly, I like to tell a long story, but I'll tell you quickly. Some workers were working on a road, and they were running out of materials. And one of the men said, I know some hills by where I live, where we can get rocks, where we can get supplies. So we took a group of men with them, and they found these rocks in these hillsides, and they started digging them out and using them, and they thought, this is great, we've got all this rock that we can work with. After many days of doing this, one man realized, now wait a minute, this rock has like definite sides, it has edges to it. This is not natural, what's going on? A little bit of investigating revealed many Mayan pyramids were under these hills, and they were using some of the rock to lay the pavement. So they stopped that. And the Belizean government said, well, we've got to kind of protect this area. But they had no money to work with this area, so they sent it out to the international community and said, if anybody has money and wants to do some archaeological digging, they can. A Canadian by the name of David Pendergast came and did some archaeological digging and dug out. Most of what you'll see here is Plaza A, but there's an entire Plaza B, they said, just to the north, down what they call Mosquito Alley. And they said, if you want to risk your life from being taken away by mosquitoes, you really could be Indiana Jones and go and do these digs. There are more uncovered pyramids out there, and there's just not money to find them. Before we went out there, though, Peter told us a little bit about the history of the Mayan site there. Two of the big finds that they found were a tomb deep down under one of the temples that we'll look at here. And then the jade head, which is approximately the size of a bowling ball, is the largest carved single piece of jade in the world, which has some stories unto itself. But we walked along, that one's fairly uncovered, but this is the opening of Plaza A. And they said, well, here Peter's pointing out a face sculpture. I don't know if you can see the eyes and the nose there. That was in one of the sides there. The different epiphytes and different parasitic plants that grew up around the trees. This is right in the Mayan site too, but the plant life is just amazing. As he was talking to us about some of the plants and some of the animals and things, people started jumping, and they were moving around like this. They were listening to him speak, but they're doing this. And then I started doing it. There were fire ants biting our feet. When we looked down, and there was this huge path of fire ants walking through, so I ran away quick, and I whipped off my sandals, and they were biting me, and I think only two really got me good. But they were tiny, little yellow fire ants, they called them, and it stung for 15 minutes. It stung bad. So, and he was laughing at us. He says, oh yeah, those are fire ants here. Just the trees, just amazing down in the rainforest there. Here we are in the open plaza, and at one point he was talking to us about the acoustics of the Mayan ruins here. And he said that when you're at the top of the sun god temple, when you see there, speaking out where the leaders would speak out to the common people, they could actually hear what was being said, even though this is a very wide open space. And then when some people were on top, we tried it out, and you could hear them from hundreds of feet away, what they were saying. It was really pretty amazing. This is the sun god temple that we were walking up to. Also kind of interesting, only the most important people could actually climb the steps, they said, of the sun god temple here. And most, on average, were approximately 5 feet tall, the Mayans that lived around this time. And then they were older men that were the important people. So these old, short men were climbing 2.5-foot steps to kind of get up to the top. It's kind of interesting to picture that maybe. We took a side route around the other side here. And they had faces carved in the sun god temple here as well. These stairs were not made by the Mayans, but they were made for us to get up a little bit easier. And when we got to the top, there was an altar on the top where they did do some sacrifices.
Yeah.